Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new American Tier 8 Premium Tank Destroyer, the XM57. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the XM57, I say brand new, it's not really. This tank has been out for about 3 weeks, but the only way you could pick this tank up was through the Banners of Valor war chests. And so that's why the review for this has been so delayed, because I didn't want to show the tank off. What people want this tank a lot and then have to go buy those chests to try and get it, and then be frustrated that they might not get it because it's just a pure chance mechanic, right? So yeah, I didn't want to support that, and like I said, I didn't really buy any of the chests. I got this thing for free because that was one thing that was good about this event, is the fact that you could grind a load of points, earn the Banners of Valor chest for free, and you could chance your hand in that regard completely for free, and that's how I picked up this tank and the Sentinel, which was great. So, the XM57, it is a tank destroyer that is very, very good. It's got a big, hard-hitting 155mm gun. Its mobility is not that great, as it is pretty slow, but the armour on it is absolutely solid. It's got amazing camo, and for a 155 as well, the gun handling on this vehicle is not actually that bad. And like I say, it hits pretty hard as well. It is a pretty damn solid tank destroyer to play. I have really enjoyed this vehicle. It's definitely up my alley in that regard. And the one place that, the one thing that you want to be doing with this tank is going hull down, using the 7 degrees of gun depression, and only revealing this turret or the upper section of the hull, as you are nigh on impenetrable when you are hull down. The arm profile on this vehicle is pretty much the same as the PC version, so we can show you Tanks GG for that when we get there. But yeah, the XM57, fully enjoyable tank destroyer. It's very, very good at what it does. Very good indeed. And yeah, the only thing is you don't want to be too bold with it, because the upper plate, lower plate is actually fairly easy to pen for most tier 9s and 10s, which means the key strength of this vehicle is going hull down, only exposing the turret in this upper section, and that's where you'll bounce a lot of shots, pretty much. But if you can play the peekaboo tank destroyer role, this thing does it very well, because your penetration is so good, because you've got that 630 alpha, and you can just keep chonking rounds out, which is what is lovely about the XM57 indeed. So let's get into the statistics of the XM57. As you can see, you've got a 35 km/h top speed, 15 km/h reverse speed, 810 horsepower engine, which is 13.5 horsepower per ton ratio, which means it is fairly sluggish in terms of getting to that 35 km/h top speed, especially with a 3.2 on soft, a 1.6 on medium, and a 1.4 on firm. Those terrain resistances are god-awful, and they will make this tank feel even more sluggish in terms of getting to its top speed. If you wanted to, you could run off-road driving to combat that, but it's really down to you. You've got 20% internal fire chance, which is on the high end of fire chances, meaning this tank does like getting set on fire if it gets hit in the engine, which is in the back of the tank. So if you get shot in the back and the rear, yeah, it is quite likely to get set on fire. You've got a 22 degrees a second hull rotation speed, which means the tank also turns very, very slow on its tracks. It is a slow and sluggish feeling tank destroyer because it's got pretty good armour and even pretty good camo. So naturally, it doesn't manoeuvre as well. It's got 315 metres of steel concealment, which is really good, and you can get that down to, I think it was about 240 odd meters of steel concealment, which is incredible, and will especially help it in the flexibility of deciding to play a stealthy tank destroyer role, as well as that armoured assault vehicle that you can do. It's got that flexibility to do both, but you've got to be careful naturally playing that stealthy tank destroyer role, that sometimes obviously you have to be a bit further back, and if the game progresses a bit too quickly, you will struggle to keep up with it because your speed is poor, generally. You got a 361 meters of on-the-move concealment. We'll get there in the end. Brain, English, hard, okay? It is what it is. 361 meters of on-the-move concealment, which is fairly poor. That is a big difference. You might want to run silent driving to get that down as close to your steel concealment as possible. 370 meters of view range is not the greatest view range in the universe, but to be fair, for a tank destroyer, it's only 10 meters below the average tier 8 view range in general, so you can make do with that by running situational awareness and optics. You'll get a good view range out of it anyway. 22 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed is the same as the tracks, which means that it turns the same. And it does have a traversable turret, but the yaw limit is only 75 degrees to the left and 75 degrees to the right, so it's not a fully traversable turret. So bear that in mind, that if you want to try and destroy this thing, one of the good ways of doing it is tracking it and getting up behind it, as it can only turn its turret halfway near enough. You've got a 0.76 accuracy during rotation with a 3.91 accuracy during movement. Now that is not great. Well, accuracy during rotation is actually pretty good. The accuracy during movement is really not great, 3.91. It means as soon as you move the tank, the aim circle becomes massive, and you'll have to wait for this gun to get aimed in to be able to get the shots down range, and it takes a wee while to get aimed in as well, as it does have a 3-second aim time, and you will feel every second of that aim time. You've got 7 degrees of gun depression, which means, again, you're fairly flexible on the ridgeline. It's not amazing gun depression, but it's not bad gun depression. You can use it well enough with this vehicle, and that's kind of where you want to be with this tank, as it is very, very good hull down. 0.43 accuracy at 100 meters is poor. It is very derpy at times, this vehicle, especially firing at range. You will miss quite a few shots with this tank, which could be a bit frustrating, which is why you always want to make sure you are fully aimed, because if you're not fully aimed, it will miss. And is also, you know, one of the reasons why it doesn't want to be playing that stealthy tank destroyer role as much. It wants to be up close and personal in people's faces, where the gun has less chance to derp the floor. But yeah. You got 1991 DPM with that 19-second reload, which again is not the best, but you can get it up to a decent amount for what is that nice 630 alpha, because naturally the higher alpha that a tank has, usually the lower DPM it gets. That's usually the way it goes anyway. 270 penetration on the standard AP is amazing for a tier 8 tank. 315 pen on the premium APCR, again, is amazing for a tier 8 tank. And 90mm of HE, that's really good HE for 900 alpha. Those HE rounds could be very, very good against the lower armoured vehicles. Could be very, very good indeed. It could be a reason to run an ammo swapper for the memes at times, this 90mm of HE. You've got 900 meters a second shell velocity with 1,100 meters a second shell velocity on the APCR, and then 900 on the HE as well. So the AP and the HE is below average at 900 meters a second. So do bear that in mind. You'll have to give a decent amount of lead at distance to be able to hit your targets with this AP round. It also helps the gun feel a bit derpier. You do feel actually a massive improvement in the gun handling when you fire the APCR, because that velocity is a lot nicer, and it's not amazing velocity, but it's a lot nicer than the standard AP, and again will help the gun handling just feel that little bit better. You've got a 150% silver bonus, so this tank does make pretty decent silver, and since you actually don't have to fire much premium, it does make very, very nice silver indeed, which is great for the XM57. So let's have a look at the modules of this vehicle, and as I say, if you get shot in the back, that's where you're likely to get set on fire, as that whole back section is just engine, so be careful of that. That's where the ammo racks are, so if you get penned through the upper and lower plate, yeah, generally it does like to get its ammo rack damaged. That section there will only ever get damaged in terms of the ammo rack if people shoot you through the side of the turret, but more than likely if people get you side on, they're going to shoot you here. So that doesn't get damaged as much. It is genuinely getting its ammo rack damaged quite often by getting shot right here. And if you want to pop this thing's lid and you've got a big caliber gun, that's where you want to be shooting it, straight through the upper and lower plate. And that's where the crew sits in the XM57. So in terms of the armour for the XM57, let's go to Tanks GG, because like I say, the armour profile for this vehicle is pretty much the same as it is on PC, so we can use Tanks GG, which is always nice, because that means we can show you the interactive armour viewer for it, and that is always handy to show for an armoured vehicle, because there can be nuances to armour that you can't get out of just looking at direct thicknesses, and that is what the case is for this vehicle. So we're looking at it with firing 270 pen at this tank, so tier 10 standard of pen, near enough. And the upper and lower plate is 220 to 230 effective when you are flat on. So most tier 9s and 10s and quite a few tier 8s will go through this upper and lower plate if they shoot you in here. But you can see this is where this tank is very, very deadly to tier 7s and tier 6s. Because there is a lot of most tier 6s and a lot of tier 7s will not pen it in this upper section whatsoever, and they won't pen it in this upper section either. There is a cupola on top, which is pennable by most vehicles it will face, but it is a very small target to hit, and since it is a large target as well, a lot of the time it is very, very difficult just generally to hit that cupola on top, but it is a weak spot for you to aim for if you're looking at this tank going, and it is hull down, and you can only see this section up. It is a spot to aim at, but it can be a royal pain to hit, and naturally this thing just absolutely chonks you. But as you can see, the turret face is absolutely fantastic. The back section can be penned by things with higher penetration if it's on flat, but generally this thing is absolutely fantastic in terms of its armor and its ability to bounce. Now, if you're using the full gun depression on this vehicle, that's where this tank is truly at its best. As you can see, 7 degrees gun depression, it can look down quite far on a ridgeline. And yeah, the upper plate becomes amazing, the turret becomes even better, the back section becomes nigh on impenetrable. You've only got to be careful about higher penetration rounds possibly going through that section there. And as you see, if you switch to that penetration on the APCR round, sorry, 315 pen, it's still amazing in terms of that turret. It's, again, got to be careful of this section here right next to the gun. But yeah, that's the XM57's armor profile. It is absolutely solid in terms of the armor. It's a very heavily armored TD, and it is very, very good at that. You just got to be careful against going against the higher pen rounds with your upper and lower plate, as it is a bit easier for them to pen. But if they shoot you the upper plate, naturally it can get some really nice ricochets as well, just because of the angle. So, let's have a look at the crew and equipment that I run on this vehicle. Let's get Mr. Steven, as I put him in the XM56F. So, in terms of the commander that I run for this tank, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanics, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking, and Camouflage Expertise. Camouflage Expertise to get the camo down on this vehicle that little bit, by 10%, which can be very, very nice for the XM57 because you can get it down to a very good camo level on this tank, which can add to the flexibility of how you can play it. So, you know, those games where there's a lot of bigger guns, a lot of higher penetration tanks that are going to just do better against your armor, you could play it a bit further back and have that flexibility to be stealthy, fire the gun and not get spotted, which can be very good. Clutch braking to make the track traverse better, because the track traverse is god-awful, and I really want to make it turn faster if I can, so we're increasing that by 7.5%. Run and Gun and Steady Aim to make the accuracy during movement better, so that we keep the aim circle from blooming out massively while on the move. And Steady Aim to make the accuracy better by 10%, so that you always want to be doing that in general, because this gun is derpy if we do not. And Track Mechanic, because we do go brawling in this vehicle, so I want to be able to get the tracks back on as quickly as possible if we get them blown off, and I've already used the repair kit. And well, yeah, these 5 perks you're going to run on every tank in World War II near enough. And then in terms of the equipment, well, food always, because it was a massive help. But I run the advanced loader to make the DPM as good as possible, as always, because you always want to make that reload better. Optics to be able to get the view range higher on this vehicle, especially since the view range is not the best. You want to be able to actually spot for yourself, and especially having such good camouflage that the camouflage net is going to give us. That means you can outspot people massively and at greater ranges, because your camouflage is so good, and you'll have pretty damn good view range. And yeah, the camouflage, as you can see, goes down to 242 with that camouflage. Now, that's why we run that. If you feel like you're just going to go brawling in this all the time, you could definitely run something like the GLD to be able to get the aim circle down quicker, or the traction system to give you the extra track traverse, as well as the top speed. You won't really hit the top speed as much if you run the traction system, but it's all about that 10% chassis and hull rotation speed with that traction system. But then you could run that in conjunction with off-road driving instead of camouflage expertise to be able to just get the terrain resistances down and help the vehicle get to its top speed. But again, really down to you and how you want to play the vehicle. I like having that flexibility to be either stealthy or to be brawly. So let's have a look at the statistics. Now it's fully set out, and as you can see, we've not really helped this top speed whatsoever. The ground resistances have gone down a little bit because of Born Leader and stuff. We're now up to nearly 24 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, which is only about 2 degrees a second faster than it was, but every little helps. 242 meters of still concealment is very, very nice and really helps it to stay stealthy, but 293 meters of on-the-move concealment is still quite good, but it's a massive difference in terms of that concealment while you move. So if you're parked up and you move forward a little bit, your camo becomes so much worse, which makes it a little bit easier to spot you. So again, that's why you might want to run silent driving. And in fact, you could decide, you know what, I'm not going to run camouflage expertise. I'm going to take it off and have 10 to 20 meters of still concealment worse, but run silent driving, which will actually make my concealment while on the move even better, which will help me get to stealthier positions and stay unspotted. Again, there's plenty of ways you can set up the vehicle to maximize different sections of the tank. You got 473 meters of view range, which again is not terrible, but it's also not good. It's just enough that you will be able to outspot people at decent distances, especially while parked up, because that concealment is so good. 23.89 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed means the turret is that little bit slower than the hull, but yeah, it is one of those things. If you turn left and you're trying to aim to the right, the turret will snap away from it, so be careful of that indeed. 0.54 accuracy during rotation, with a 2.79 accuracy during movement now is, well, the accuracy during rotation is fantastic, but the accuracy during movement is still not great, but it's a lot better than it was, which is why we run and gun, to try and make it so that when we do move, that aim circle isn't quite as big while on the move, meaning it doesn't feel as bad when we're having to aim in with that 2.7 second aim time, which again is slightly better than it was. 0.35 accuracy as well is not the most accurate tank in the universe at 100 meters. Still not, it's not terrible, but it's not below 0.35. When you're hitting at that 0.35 mark at 100 meters, that's at the point where you're going, oh, I'm still feeling its slightly derpier tones, and that's what it is like with the XM57. 13.86 second reload is 2.7k DPM, which is actually pretty damn solid DPM for a tier 8 tank, and especially for one that hits for 630 alpha, yeah, that's pretty nice DPM to have for such a heavy hitting gun. And is, yeah, lovely to use for the XM57, but because of the nature of the gun being derpy, occasionally when you do derp the floor, that 13 second reload can be a little bit painful, but yeah, that's the trade-off for the tank, right? But yeah, that's the XM57. Like I say, it is an absolutely solid tier 8 premium tank destroyer. You can have the flexibility of being that aggressive brawling tank, or you can sit back a bit further and have the nice camo to be able to keep chonking away and not get spotted as easily. You do have that flexibility, but like I say, you do have to be a bit careful when you play that way, as you naturally, if the game goes a bit quicker, you're just going to struggle to keep up with it, as it is very slow and sluggish. So what I'm going to do now is send you into the replays where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, see if it's a bit of you or not, and see if you might have enjoyed this vehicle. And also, so you can see the strengths and weaknesses of this vehicle, like I say, with showing you the Tanks GG, the Armour model, so you know where to pen it, and so that you know if this tank's coming after you, where its weaknesses could be. So, as always, everybody, I will see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the XM57. And this first game, we're here on Airfield, and we are bottom tier against tier 10, so not the best matchup in the universe. But to be honest, in the XM57, I'm not really that bothered about facing tier 10s, because I hit hard, I don't really struggle to pen them. It's just about hitting them at times in the spot that I want to, because the gun's derpy. The armour, especially when I get it into the position I need it to be in, which is hull down, is very, very nice. The only time that you get wrecked in this vehicle is when you're going against vehicles naturally that have really high DPM, you're out in the open, and they just go through your upper and lower plate really easily because they have the penetration to do so. But like I say, if you're against tier 6 or 7s, and even some of the tier 8s, you don't really struggle in that regard because your upper and lower plate is just that good anyway. But yeah. So on Airfield, what we're going to do is go to this little position here, because from here I can go hull down and I can fight people and shoot people that might go along the BC line. I can also shoot people that go onto that corner. So as we poke the corner, we get spotted and detected straight away, and it's Mr. E5 here on this corner, which is a bit of a struggle tank to go against, because naturally he's got a very good gun and he's got very good DPM. But thankfully for me, he's gone into a position which is a little bit easier for me to go after him. So we go for that cupola shot into the E5, which we should be able to pen with 270 pen, but we ricochet because we snapped our aim a little bit to the right, which meant that the angle was a little bit too much, and so we ricocheted. But with the E5 having that cupola, it is a little bit easier to hit, and with having the penetration, we can chonk through that guy in this position as well, because it's going to be very difficult for him to be able to hit me and pen me. But we have to have the gun actually hit, and as you saw with that shot on his machine gun slash, it's a machine gun port really more than a cupola, but you get the point. With the shot that we had on that, it just went, lol, I'm going to miss by a mile, and that's what this gun can do. So the 257 managed to pen and trackers there, and that's because we overexposed our side armor, but we put a big shot into him for 644. Now we're nearly reloaded, we can go for that cupola into the E5, 611 chunked right through, and that's where this tank is super satisfying. It's very, very nice indeed. So the E5 makes an aggressive push play, which I was not quite sure why he did that, because while it's going to be a bit awkward at times, he could actually come after us. I've got another E5 with me who could also help with that. He misses his shot. I put the shot straight through his side as he over peaks his side armor, putting him down to a position where he, if we high roll, could be a one shot if we high roll. So we're just aiming for the shot into his cupola. He overexposes that little bit of his lower plate, and that was such a thin shot. You know, from the shot that we missed on the machine gun port? and it flew to the right, and we missed that shot, which was a far easier shot than that one. That's RNG. RNG love giveth and it taketh, because we probably should not have hit that shot, but we did, and the E5 finishes him off. Now we can go after the 60 TP, who I'm pretty sure hasn't fired, but we'll chance it anyway. Our shot actually hit the upper plate and ricocheted into his gun and broke his gun. But we didn't pen him because we aimed for the lower plate, and like I said, this gun is derpy. But we know he's fired. I've got a reload that means I will reload before he will. We go for that lower plate, and this time we go straight through the lower plate. He ends up with a broken turret, but that's because I think the E5 fired heat straight through his turret front because, well, E5 heat chonks. And so we actually put a big shot into that 60 TP's lower plate, and he's now a one-shot and gets shut down by the SFAC 105. I mean, there's only 5 tanks left on the enemy team. We're up to that 3.1k damage with 158 assistance damage, and so we're going to try and get up to this middle area where we can try and find a shot into the FV225. Now, with the position that FV225 is in, I wasn't quite sure where I could find the shot, and we've actually just missed out on the shot on the FV225 as he's got himself behind the cover. He gets finished off. The CS63 is going to get shut down as well. The artillery is actually out in the open. If I'd been a little bit quicker to get around this corner, I could have had a shot into him, but we don't find that shot either. And then there's only 2 tanks left on the enemy team, which is the FV225 in the corner and the RT, who are both over at K2 and now at J1. And this tank, yeah, it's slow, which means the likelihood of me getting over there is against all of the other tier 10s and stuff that are running around after the last mine damage. Yeah, I'm not going to get there. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to sit here and wait. Maybe the FV225 decides to rush out of position, drives into the open, and I can get a free shot without having to move. Because the thing is, if I drop down this hill and start to move forward and the FV225 does do that, the likelihood is I'm going to miss an opportunity to shoot him. But it never happens. The artillery gets shut down by the XM57 as well, and so we don't do any more damage. But we finished with a fairly average game there for the XM57, and a decent 1% it was in a tier 10 lobby as well. The 0 kills, 3.1k damage, 158 assistance damage, the second class with the 1495 base XP. Second class, fairly average game for the XM57 with that 3k damage, and it showed what it can do even against tier 10s in that sort of area as well, and it's just what you want to be doing. If you go to a position where you can only expose the turret, you are going to do very well with this tank, and because it hits hard, that trading ability, that peek-a-boom playstyle this thing has, is very, very effective. Very, very effective indeed. But now we're into the second replay, and this second replay we're here on this map, which is Safe Haven. And once again, it's in a tier 10 lobby, and what we're going to do is go to this middle area because we can try and brawl a bit. We can use this little corner section to keep our armor covered. We can try and go hold down little sections as well with the rubble. And if we want to, and try and get shots across the JK line, we can go up that little ramp. So we go for the shot into the lower plate of the Chieftain Mark 6 there, but sadly, the shell went high and hit his upper plate and bounced. And again, that's just the accuracy of this gun. It does like to miss at times, and that can be a frustrating point for it. But now we're up close and personal. We shouldn't really struggle with the Chieftain too much, who won't struggle with us because he's got great penetration and also amazing DPM. But he hits us for 400, or less than 400 really. We hit him for 609, and that's the impact that this peek-a-boom playstyle can have for this tank. While we don't have the best DPM in the universe, we can't keep up with tier 10s naturally for our DPM, which we shouldn't do because we're a tier 8. We can just go, hello, I will trade effectively, and take away 600 hit points while only losing 400. But we make a big mistake there, and that is that we have just lost pretty much all of our hit points for attempting to go through the upper plate of the Chieftain at that angle. And so we've got to play very carefully now, as this could be pretty awkward. We've loaded the premium APCR so that we could go through the 705A that little bit easier, because even with 270 pen, the 705A, depending on the angle, can be a bit awkward. So especially with having only 83 hit points now, I want to make sure that I'm going to be the most effective I can be. So we go for that drive wheel shot into the 705A, slap him in the side there, putting him down to a one-shot, but with the angle he's now at, I only need the AP round, so we switch back to AP, hoping to get the reload in to be able to shut this guy down, but he takes both hits from the FV225, the Tiger 2 doesn't manage to get a shot in, so we do manage to finish off that Soviet tier 10 heavy tank. We're up to 3.1k damage. There's 2 TDs behind us. There's a heavy tank over here in front of us. So I want to try and go help this TD out against this heavy tank if I can, which is an E5. And since we're going to have his rear, it's going to be easy to go through. So we put a shot in for 631 and give him the slightest little tap in the universe and secure the second kill of this game on another tier 10 tank for 3.7k damage. I mean, we'll take it. It's always nice when you get those slight little rams that go, hello, I'm just here to kill you. Tap. And you thank you for your death. I thank you muchly. So there's only 4 tanks left on the enemy team. There's the heavy tank in their spawn area, which I'm assuming is AFK since it's at C2. It doesn't seem like it's moved. They've got the guys up here as well in their campy, snipey locations at K3. And I'm assuming that the G-Saw, there we go, I was assuming that the G-Saw was there, but we missed the opportunity to shoot the G-Saw as he comes careering down the hill. So I'm really hoping now that that G-Saw will end up giving us a nice little side shot. But we do have to be careful because we do have to get the gun aimed in, otherwise we will miss. So we wait for that G-Saw, aim it up, hit the floor. Again, XM57 gun. It's pretty damn derpy. And even though it wasn't fully aimed, but the G-Saw was mostly in that aim circle there, it still liked to hit the floor. And that's what the XM57, again, the gun on this tank does like doing that a lot, which can be a bit frustrating, but there we go. Finished with 2 kills, the 3.7k damage, 1703 base XP, 115,000 silver, second class, with that 1703 base XP. A really nice game there for the XM57 in another tier 10 lobby, which, like I said, I don't mind taking this thing out against tier 10s whatsoever. It feels comfortable no matter the matchup you are in. And again, tier 10 lobby, 3rd game here on Overlord. And what I'm going to do on Overlord Assault is, as you can see, it's the one that can be a bit of a pain, which is that the team gets spawned a lot down on the beach. Now, a fair few of their tanks get spawned on the beach as well. But what can happen on Assault is that none of their teams on the top section goes down to the beach, and a good amount of their team that's on the beach already climbs to the top. And that means that everyone that's on top, like where we are now, dies, and those that get stuck against the 3 or 4 tanks that might still be on the beach for them end up getting farmed from the cliff at about G3. Because that is a very good way to get free damage on Overlord. As long as you don't get countered by anyone that's on the top section, you can easily farm anyone that's on the beach without true retaliation. And you can just get some big damage numbers from that on Overlord. But what's happened is there was a lot of their team on the beach, and there doesn't seem to be much of a presence up here. Because we've pushed aggressively along the Brawley section, along this 9 line, and nothing's really got spotted. There's an ST2 down at E4. Now, we've got to be careful of the ST2, because, again, he won't really struggle to pen us. He could just double barrel us, and he'll hit us for nearly 1,000 with a double salvo if he rolls well enough. So we do have to be careful of that man, and if we want to get rid of him, that's what we want to do. Because they all seem to have gone to this lower section at E4. So anyone that spawned on this top section has gone down there. So we want to go get rid of them, because then we can start farming the guys on the beach. And that's the key thing always. By the way, that's the camo right there. That's how good the camo is. We're firing through concealment. We've got that great 242 meters of still concealment. That ST2 just cannot see us. Just can't see us. That's the camo. But yeah, the goal for us here on Overlord is to get rid of these guys on the top section, because then we can get an easy farm on those on the beach. We see the Conqueror GC, managed to get the shot snapped into him, putting us onto 1262 damage, and really going after the ST2 and this T54E2. We're in the perfect position because we can go over and only really expose our turret armor, which is the best we've got. But with them pulling back, it can be a bit awkward. We spot the SU-130 PM at the back, and I'm just trying to be careful of this Jagdpanzer E100 as well. But with the ST2 firing, I'm going to go over and try and get the shot. But the 7 degrees of gun depression is making that a little bit awkward, to be quite honest. And you saw we had to really overexpose ourselves to be able to get the shot into the side of the ST2, which was successful. But we ended up taking a few hits from the T54E2. The SFAT-105 is the tank I'm going to put down to a one-shot, because again, he could quite easily double barrel us, and I don't want that. And the T54E2 is currently reloading, so we knew that we were safe from taking a hit from him, whereas the SFAT could have just quite easily got rid of us. So yeah, it was target choice that. The T-54E2 gets a shot in the back, so we put the final shot in to kill him, and there's only one tank left on this top section. Well, I'll say one tank. There's the SU-130PM from earlier, but there's the Jagdpanzer E100. And with the Jagdpanzer E100 getting shut down, now we can go to the cliff face and start shooting those that are still on the beach. So the Eradicator ends up poking over. Wow! We probably should have died there. That Eradicator caught us off guard, but the CGC said, "I see your engine deck. I penetrate it." And yeah, that was a bad time for that guy. But anyway, good times for us. Thank you, artillery. Very nice of you to defend us. Thankfully, the Senjutsu misses his shot. We're still looking down at the FV225, which with 270 pen, I could go through, but in that hull down situation he's in, I'll probably want the APCR rounds so that I can try and aim for his turret ring and go through the turret ring. Because the FV225 is pretty good hull down, but the turret ring is actually pennable if we hit it. It's a very slim shot, but if you've got good enough pen, you will go through it. So I'm just being careful of the standard B and the Senjutsu that is up above us, because again, I'm in a position where I'm a one-shot for both of them. I don't want to get shut down at this point. We're having quite a nice game, so we just keep our eye on these blokes up here. But thankfully, the Senjutsu isn't really over-peaking. The Jagdpanzer takes a fair few hits. He chonks a shot into the FV225, so we're going to use our 7 degrees of gun depression, poke over. You can see me aiming for that turret ring, and we put the shot straight through. Now that's because we actually didn't hit the turret ring. We hit the little jutty out section on his upper plate, and that meant that we could go through it. The E100 is in a very not a good position, meaning we can put a shot straight through his drive wheel, keep him pinned, put us up to 4.3k damage with 696 assistance. There's only one tank left on the beach still. It's the FV225, so we're just going to poke over and see if we can find him. And once again, go for that shot into his turret ring. But we didn't need to, because he actually exposed his lower plate, and thankfully the gun didn't derp this time, so we managed to shut down the FV225, securing our third kill of this game. Up to that 4.7k damage. There's only 4 tanks left in the enemy team. Thankfully the CGC on their team didn't manage to find the shot, so it only did a bit of splash damage. There's the medium tank up at F9, the TD and the artillery that are at B4, and, well, the medium tank that's just been shut down, which was the Senjutsu at K5. So we're just going to try and use the mobility of the XM57 to try and get up to the top of the ridgeline, possibly at E4, because from there we can hopefully use the elevation of that ridgeline and be able to shoot towards their cap area, be able to shoot over that little cap section, and then be able to see either the CGC or the SU-130PM if they come up. But the problem is, if they are both in that dip, there's a likelihood we're not going to get a shot at them. And then once again, it's where the struggle is for the mobility, because we're just not quick enough to be able to get there ahead of quite a few of the other vehicles. And since I think it's the Chaug is going towards that SFAT 105, he's already killed the artillery. Yeah, there's absolutely no hope of getting after that SFAT 105 for us, sadly. It is what it is. And the Chaug shuts down the SFAT 105. But we're finished with a very nice game once again for the XM57 in a tier 10 lobby. We're finished with the victory there. Top of the team, 3 kills, 4.6, nearly 4.7k damage, 700 assistance damage. The second class with 1952 base XP. Now, a lot of tanks would probably have an ace tanker on that one, but yeah, not this one. But also, I think that was first day or second day requirements, which means it's set to the highest base XP for a tank destroyer to get an ace anyway, which I believe was the Panzerjäger. I'm not quite sure at this point, since the Panzerjäger's been given away so many times, but yeah, anyway. And this is the 4th and final replay for the XM57 tier 10 lobby once again, and we're here on Ghost Town. And this is probably the best game I've had in the tank. And what we're going to do here on Ghost Town is go to F4, F5, go hull down there. Once again, use the 7 degrees of gun depression, only really expose the turret, and try and wait for people to poke into our gun sights. Because, like I say, Ghost Town is good for the game style that this tank has, or the playstyle, game style, yeah, whatever. Is the playstyle that this tank has is that peekaboom. It likes to play that ridgeline peekaboom, where you only expose your turret, go, hello friend, 630, pull back, reload, get safe for a bit, and then do it all over again. And that's what this XM57 loves doing. And it's its key strength. If you can play peekaboom, it's going to be a great time, and Ghost Town is very, very good for it. So we're just keeping our eye on that left-hand side in case anyone pokes up at E7, which people do like to, but no one decided to poke up. So you know what? We're going to go for the tanks that are trying to progress down the JK line. We see the E5 just waiting for him to possibly drive out. Mr. Panther 2, though. We put a big shot through the side of that Panther 2. Always nice when they give you the easy shot. He didn't see us, by the way. Camo, once again. The camo on this vehicle is filthy. It is very, very easy to stay unspotted, and that Panther 2 didn't see us when we shot him. Now we're just sitting and waiting for the peekaboo on this corner. The 705A is so close. It's like, come on, dude. There we go. We put the shot straight through the side of the 705A. Didn't track the 705A, which I was fully hoping to do, because then I could have got some assistance damage. But it is what it is. The E5's also pushed very aggressively as well. And with the heavy tank down below now facing against 2 tier 10s, we do want to get down there and help him out. The Marat, though, is in a position we can put another big shot through his side. So if we can get a shot through him, that's what we wanted to do. And we're going to go help the heavy tank, or the heavy tank's dead, actually. We're going to go help Mr. Jagdpanzer E100 against these heavy tanks and be supporting him, which is what you want to do when you've got this kind of gun. So we put a big shot through the side of the Jagdpanzer, sorry, the 705A, and the Jagdpanzer E100 goes, thank you for tracking him, sideways on, I will go boom now, and gives us that assistance damage as well, which is lovely. Securing the kill on Mr. 705A, getting rid of another tier 10 tank. We see the Bayer getting a shot through the side of the Bayer there, who clearly went, okay, I've taken a hit, screw this guy, I'm going round to go after these people. He misses his shot on our heavy, so we're just going to aim up for that lower plate, make sure it's fully aimed, because once again, this gun likes to derp, so make sure, if you've got the opportunity to do it, make sure this gun is going to be aimed in. So we managed to get the shot through his lower plate, and now we're just watching the Bayer around the corner, who is fully aimed at this corner. Now we've got to be careful, because he could just go, lol, I'll pen you anyway, but I chance it, risk it for a biscuit, because that's just the way I roll, and we end up finishing off the Bayer, which, again, could have gone very, very badly. He could have quite easily got us, but yeah, it is what it is. Now, the Jagdpanzer's driven around the corner. I was quite worried about, I think it's an E5 around this corner. Yeah, it is the E5. I was worried that the E5 might just all in me, which would not be a good time. But we get a shot through the side of the E5, putting him down to a possible one-shot for us. We are nearly loaded, which means that I hope I roll well enough to be able to kill this E5, because otherwise he's going to use his DPM. Thankfully, he ends up shooting my gun. He shoots my gun, which means that he doesn't actually manage to pen us there. We put a shot through his lower plate, and since we're nearly loaded and he's just fired, I know I can poke around the corner and get rid of Mr. Tier 10 Tech Tree American Heavy Tank, securing our second kill of the game up to 5.1k damage. It's currently still 8-6, which means that this game is still a bit on a knife's edge, so we do have to make sure that we're going to go pick up some more kills. The M3Y and the T249 around the corner, sorry, not T249, the T100LT. So we're aim up the shot into the drive wheel of the T100LT, which he unfortunately repairs so he doesn't stay pinned. Just waiting on the reload to hopefully finish this guy off, as he is a one-shot for us now. Well, it's a 50-50 one-shot, but there you go. And he just gets away from us before we manage to get the reload in. So you know what? Okay, screw Mr. T100LT. We're just going to ignore him and go after the heavy. But in fact, he's doing the thing I didn't expect, and that he's just going to drive back out in front of us. Okay, then. But he doesn't... Oh, just... Come on. We end up tracking the guy only instead of doing any damage, because he managed to turn a little bit, which meant we only hit the tracks. Sad times. SFAT 105 drives around straight in front of our gun, so we say, well, thank you, Mr. SFAT 105. I will quite happily take the damage. And now there's only one tank left on my team. It is the GSAW 1008. And yeah, that was just so unlucky with the shot on the T100LT. That was one of those ones where you go, hello, I've got you, I have you now. And yeah, it said no, but it's what it is. So we finished the game in that tier 10 lobby on Ghost Town with a really great score for the vehicle. We finished with the victory, 2 kills, 6.2, nearly 6.3k damage, the 2.3k base XP, with the ace tanker, the sniper, the high caliber, and those 2 kills. A very, very nice game there for the XM57, which is an absolutely solid American Tier 8 premium tank destroyer, and is, like I say, a tank destroyer that I just don't care what type of matchup I'm in, because I feel like I'm capable no matter what, because that gun hits so hard. I've got the flexibility of being aggressive or being a bit more passive, and that's just what the XM57 can do. Which is a shame that it was only available in War Chest, but it is what it is. So, thank you very much everybody for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!